Good morning, everyone. My name is Samantha. Welcome back to Honey Hill. It is about 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and I am out in my garden, and I'm going to be planting a bunch of perennials and grasses to add to my rose meadow. We've been hitting 100-degree temperatures almost every day for the last week. So the weather is brutally hot and dry. Our humidity is very, very low. However, I found some beautiful things at the nursery. I'm going to make sure that everything is watered in really, really well. Most of these things do incredibly well in these drier, hotter conditions anyway. But still, this is a if you are going to be planting anything in high heat, water is super important, and making sure that you're not planting plants in dry pots, that you've watered them before they've had a chance to soak up that moisture, and also watering in really deeply after you plant and continuing that. And I will be setting up drip to the area that I'm planting as well, connecting into an existing drip system I have set up. But I want to show you some of the things that I picked up while we're still in the shade. So I have about 7 of these Hidcote lavender. Now Hidcote is a English type lavender, the angustifolia. This is hardy down to a zone 5, so negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. They grow 18 to 24 inches tall and 18 to 24 inches wide. So I have pretty kind of spotty luck with lavender, where it will last for a couple years and then maybe die out in a really particularly cold and snowy winter. However, Hidcote lavender is a better type of lavender for cold temperatures, and where I'm planting it, the drainage is really good. It's full baking sun, so I think that the lavender should do okay. The other thing that I grabbed, and I'm going to try to find one with the freshest blooms. I've just deadheaded these, and they probably need to be deadheaded again. But I just want to show you, for the sake of color, this beautiful butterfly bush. Now I have 9 of these, and I'm going to be doing a nice big drift of them. But I just love that opalescent, icy pink color for a butterfly bush. And these are supposed to get about let me see, I think 4 to 5 feet tall. Yeah, 4 to 5 feet tall, and about 5-foot spacing on these. And this was just a part of a mix, and the nursery had a bunch in this particular color, so fell in love with this, grabbed these. These were a really great price as well. And then I have several of these just kind of standard Perovskia, or the Russian sage. These get really kind of nice and I would say about 3 to 4 feet tall and wide at their largest. But this is just a beautiful, solid, deer don't touch it, and gets this beautiful shape for the rose meadow. I have a bunch of it already, but in the new area I need to continue it on. And then this is something that I've considered. I've not considered adding to the rose meadow, and I don't know if I can get one out. But these are hydrangeas. Okay. So this beautiful hydrangea is called Pink Diamond. Now these get quite large, 6 to 8 feet tall and wide, and 5 to 6 feet wide. Now this beauty smells like honey, which is really amazing, because I don't think all hydrangeas have a noticeable scent, to me anyway. And this has just been absolutely covered in every kind of pollinator imaginable. As soon as the sun touches these are just absolutely smothered in pollinators. So, which is actually kind of, you don't even want to touch it when the sun comes out. So I'm going to try to get these planted pretty quick, but they smell amazing. So I'll be adding 3. I have 3 of those to add to the rose meadow, and then I have some pretty salvia. This is Salvia caradonna, And I have 5 of these to add. Now, I didn't cut these back just for the sake of showing you the shape of the salvia, as well as you can still see the really beautiful dark purple color that these have. But I will be cutting these back so that they can bloom fresh. But this is another really wonderful, deer resistant, pollinator friendly perennial to add to the meadow. These are hardy down to zone 3, so incredibly cold hardy. They grow 20 to 28 inches tall and 18 to 24 inches wide. Okay, and then lastly, I'm just going to show you here for the sake of time. I'm going to show you this beautiful Gara, which also is about needing to be cut back. This is the variety called the Bride. And I got this Verbena bonariensis. It's not a perennial, but it will self-seed if it's happy where it is. And then I have 5 of these little hummingbird mint or agastache or agastache, and it's in this like pinky violet color, and it also needs to be cut back, but you can see the honeybees are already all over it. But I have a bunch of these little things to dot through, and you know me, if you watch my channel, anytime I have the chance to add the airy elements, those are my favorite bits to add to the garden. But let's get these planted before it gets too hot. I just also want to point out I have these 3 Carl Forster featherweed grasses, and I have a bunch of them that have been in this meadow for a long time. This one is looking pretty dried out, even though they've been watered a ton, so I might have to replace this one if it doesn't take when I plant it, but these 2 look okay. The temperatures have been so hot that if I'm not watering all the plants in their cans twice a day, they're getting pretty unhappy. Now, when I plant the butterfly bushes, I'm not going to be adding any fertilizer to the soil. Butterfly bushes don't particularly like being fed. They just kind of like to be planted and left alone. So I'm going to just plant them here in the soil. There is compost here that can work its way down, but I don't feel the need to add any extra feed for the butterfly bushes. The other thing about planting butterfly bushes is you want to make sure that their crown, so the base of the plant, is proud of the soil, particularly if you are not planting where they have the best drainage. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not planting them too deep in the soil. Even though they have this slope here working for them to drain any extra moisture away from them, I still want to make sure that they get the drainage that they need, just in case. I'm going to firm them in, and again, I'm making sure that their root ball is just a little bit above the soil. Woo! The soil is bone dry. I'm gonna actually still utilize this cardboard like it is a weed barrier for this Gara. Set it down and plant, and then spread the mulch on top of it. And then ferment. So I took a little bit of a break. My camera overheated. I needed a little bit of a break. But I came back out and I've planted, and I'll point them out if you can't see them in the frame, 2 of the 3 pink diamond hydrangeas, planting more of the pink butterfly bush over on this side. And then I'm also planting this worse for wear Verbena bonariensis, which will hopefully, I'll cut it back and hopefully it will perk up once it gets planted. Some of them look a lot better than others. And I may try to go out and get some more. I really am just hoping that these set seed and then naturally spread out. And once these are established, they're very, very drought tolerant. I can tell that these were planted in like a peat moss, which is really bad. And once it dries out, it's really not good. So yeah, I wish growers would get more away from peat moss. Okay, so it is later in the evening. My microphone died, but I wanted to go ahead and come back out here and wrap up with you guys what I planted today. So in this section, I have the hummingbird mint in a group of 5. Now, this is going to be cut back down to the new growth points that are coming out. I could cut it down even further so that all the energy is going into rooting in and not trying to keep these going. So we want to have new growth going down and new growth coming up. And then I have the Russian sage, the Gara, which also needs to be cut back and cleaned up, the Verbena bonariensis, the pink butterfly bush, and the Carl Forster feather reed grass. As we move down, we have more of the bride Gara and the hidcote lavender in the front. It was super windy and hot today. This has all been watered in really well. Everything looks a little bit wind shocked. So I'm going to be watering everything again really well this evening, and then setting up the drip to this area probably tomorrow so that I won't have to be hand watering, so I know that this area is good to go. I have another one of these Russian sages which will get about 3 to 4 feet wide and get as tall So it will be a really nice block to this transformer behind me, along with working in tandem with the Karl Forster featherweed grasses. And right here, also needing to be cut back, but I wanted to leave it for the shape and the height so you guys could see, is the Salvia caradonna, which gets this deep purple spiked bloom. I'm going to be cutting it down again to the next fresh growth point so that it can hopefully refresh this summer. More of the Verbena bonariensis, which I'm going to trim back as well, and the pink butterfly bush or buddleia, and just again repeating another Karl Forster feather reed grass, dotting throughout the Gara and the Verbena bonariensis. And then I did plant these 3 pink diamond panicle hydrangeas here, one and another to my left, and then the third over here in the corner of this bed. These do get 6 to 8 feet tall and about 5 to 6 feet wide, so those will be a nice large anchor shrub. And then the buddleia gets about 4 to 5 feet tall and wide, and it will be that nice beautiful pink color. Now I think the plan is to continue this border down the hill to about the same stopping point, the sloped border, so that to the eye these flower beds stop in the same place. And I think that will be just the right balance visually. But I'm getting ready to actually plant some things on the slope. I've been working to kill off the weeds that are here. And if we take a look, so I have been dealing with bindweed and thistle and grasses that are coming up through this new border. Now I have experimented with spraying this with horticultural vinegar to use the most natural approach, and I sprayed that a couple of times. And with the bindweed in particular, here is an example of the bindweed. What the vinegar did was it killed off the top growth of the bindweed fairly quickly, like within a day it was gone and brown. However, a couple of days later, it was brand new fresh growth was coming up out of the center, so it didn't really penetrate and kill the roots. Now, had I kept spraying it with the vinegar, who knows, it might have eventually done the trick. It didn't really take care of the grasses either. I'm going to be trying to pull the grass by hand as well as trying to spray it. However, I really want to kill off the bindweed because that is one that I'm dealing with in the Rose Meadow. That I wish now that I had done a better job of ridding that bed of it before I planted anything, instead of having to deal with it kind of in reverse. So I have, bindweed still kind of coming up in places. Here's one, but I did go ahead and spray one application of the Bonide Dead Weed Brew. Now here's an example of a bindweed that it got killed off. I can see the original part of plant with brown underneath, and then it has quickly resprouted. So I'm going to be, spraying another application of the Dead Weed Brew to try to get on top of the bindweed so that it is not something I am dealing with perpetually in this space. I'm really okay with hand pulling most other weeds, but bindweed in particular is so hard to get rid of, and hand pulling really just doesn't do it. So if we want to also kind of come down, there are some other weeds in here that they're sprouting up really quickly. I mean, every day I'm coming out here and pulling stuff because it's so hot that the weeds are just sprouting every single day. But I wanted to show you also with the thistle. So here's the dead foliage from the thistles that I sprayed. However, from the base, there is new growth coming out. Some of them look like they are taken care of, But you know, this one, there's still new life, and that's been hit with vinegar and the Bonide deadweed brew. But most of them actually, like here was some more, look like they are pretty well and dead. So I'm going to be watching these ones really closely, but I have more that are wanting to sprout up along the slope as well. Again, I'm really pleased that the part of the slope that we didn't till at all, that was just completely mowed down and topped with a thick black plastic for about a month, has actually shown less signs of regrowth of weeds than the part that was tilled. That has way more weed growth than the no-till slope. So that's really good news. But there are still some particularly the grass that wants to grow up through. Grass is super persistent. So those are my top three biggest issues right now, is the bindweed, the thistle, and the grasses that want to grow. But once these things get under control and I feel like we're in a good place with the weeds, I'm going to be starting to incorporate the very beginnings of my plan of the planting for this area, as well as something I want to share with you guys as a little preview of what is to come. So I have gone ahead and I have mowed down all the top layer of weeds on this slope. I'm going to be raking all this stuff up and clearing it out, and then laying down the DeWitt Pro landscape fabric. Now, I really don't use landscape fabric in my garden. However, for these little bits of slope and things where I really don't have plans to plant anything, and I want to keep the weed pressure from coming into the garden, I want to use that landscape fabric, because here I'm also going to be planting a hedge of incredible hydrangeas, which will get to that perfect like 6 feet or so height at their maximum, which will make this planted all in a row like this, just this one solid big impact of incredible hydrangeas, will make this lower terrace feel even more like a snug room and a space. I don't want to have a tall enough hedge where I can't enjoy the view, but I want something for privacy and for interest. And you know, we tried the junipers, it did not work out here. Hydrangeas, of course, the deer will munch on them, so I'm going to have to be spraying them. But I hope that once they're established and large enough, like other hydrangeas in my garden, they'll do okay. But that will be a lot of long season interest to have a hydrangea hedge here, and I love incredibles, and I definitely want more of them in the garden. I'm going to be also potentially adding a lot more of them along the slope with boxwoods and different things, and playing with planting ideas there. But I will share this process with you guys of how. So I'm going to be coming in first thing and filling in some holes that were left from the junipers that were here, filling those holes in with compost, raking this up, laying down the landscape fabric, setting up the drip, and then once I've planted the hydrangeas, they haven't come in yet, then I'll be mulching this whole area and making it look cleaned up, and going from there. That's it for me today. I hope you really enjoyed seeing me extending my rose meadow and hearing about future plans we have here at Honey Hill. My name is Samantha. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Happy gardening. Bye.